And how many of those kids in that class had a terrible time in middle school, and now we're in high school and having a great time?
All right, I'll call the January 18th meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order, and the first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And let me take up Rick first.
Yeah, please.
All right, we have quotes for the transfer station septic system, and the building inspector, Mr. Pelletier, is here.
So we have 3 quotes to open this evening.
First quote is from Abbey Run Construction. It's me on the backside. Total amount of $17,000 even. I'm looking on this and going, where the heck is it? Back here.
Oh, yeah. Rick, did they all bid on the same plan?
Yes.
So they were all in viral fab?
Yeah. Some of them were sent revised plans.
The next bid we have is from Mark Young Trucking and Excavating for a total of $20,000. $20,000 even. And finally, third one is John Taylor and Sons, Excavating Contractors, Septic Specialists, and have a quote of $16,100.
Brett, I just noticed that on Mark's it said any and all ledge work is extra. Did any of the others?
Abbey Run's got note, any issues with ledge in the excavation area not included. And they have a hammer rate of 1,000 for transport and 190 per hour thereafter.
There's no mention on this one with regard to ledge.
Like, how much did you say that one was?
$16,100.
We'll have to have Rick find out.
So that's the apparent low bidder is John Taylor and Sons.
I like Mark Young's exclamation point after the ledge work. I think he's worked in town a couple times.
So have Mr. Pelletier take a look at these three bids and look at all the fine print that they have on each of them and come back with a recommendation to us.
Okay.
That sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Any comments on it?
Yeah,
Nope.
these, no, sorry.
All the bidders were by invitation, and they, I went with bidders who we know their work, have done work in town. We've had no problems in the past. We've never had complaints about them. Some of the bidders weren't interested, but those were the ones that were interested.
In that case, should we just go ahead and assign it tonight?
We gotta
I
find
mean,
out about
I'll
ledge.
double check the wording on their
Okay.
Yeah.
Another
Sure.
thing too is the 30 days, but they're not gonna be able to start in 30 days, are they?
We're gonna have to open that discussion, because I thought we'd have had this started by now. And with the last 2 weeks of weather and the rain, I don't know how much frost is in there. I mean, there might be so much frost that we have to use a hammer, in which case I'd rather avoid that.
Yeah.
So I may have to talk to Pete to see how we handle the situation so that we use the impact fee money still.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And if
When
we
their
can make
quotes are only good for 30 days too. Not only is the impact fee, but it's their quote.
Well, I will, if we delay the start of the project, I will check with them and make sure that the quotes will still be good, if they'll honor the quotes, given good weather.
Okay.
All set?
All set? Well, thank you, Mr. Pelletier.
Okay.
All right, next, we have Dan Holdridge with regard to the 2022 warrant article review.
Good evening.
Evening.
Nice to see you all again. I look forward to doing our town deliberative session coming up on February 5th at the fairgrounds again at 9 a.m. on February 5th. So the purpose of my visit tonight is to go over the warrant articles briefly and find out who from our Board of Selectmen will be representing the warrants that are presented here. And so when I call after I read the warrant article to the community, that we would have one of you folks be the sponsor, if you will. In the past, you folks would have Andy do a significant amount of them, but we'd need somebody to stand up and just explain it out or be able to answer questions that the community may have. So with that, we'll go on to the first one here. So the first article would be the town budget. So that's shall the town of Deerfield raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant, or as amended by the vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $4,664,277. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $4,122,731, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by the previous action of the town of Deerfield or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 4013X and XVI and take up the issue of the revised operating budget only. So with regard to the budget, would there be one of you folks that'd be willing to be the sponsor or discuss the budget?
Yeah, I can.
You want to do that?
Sure.
Alden?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Dan,
Mm-hmm.
since we don't have copies, can you just, in the midst of time, tell us the number and the dollar amount?
Okay, sure. So, Article 2, or do you need Article 1? Are you all set, Dick?
Yeah.
Okay. So Article 2 is shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $250,000 for the purpose of repair or reconstruction of existing roads and associated drainage improvements. So who would like to talk on that one?
I can speak to
Fred?
that one.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Article number 3 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $95,000 to be placed in the previously established Police Department Building Expendable Trust Fund for the purpose of having engineering and architectural plans prepared for a new police department building. So who would,
That's a Fred one.
Yeah.
Fred? Okay. Okay, thanks, Fred. Okay, number 4, Article 4, to see if the town will vote to establish a Doust Kate Cemetery Expansion Expendable Trust Fund per RSA 3119A for the purpose of expanding the existing Doust Kate, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, Katie or Kate?
Kate,
Kate,
yeah.
okay. Cemetery to accommodate the town's future burial needs and to raise and appropriate $80,000 to put in that fund. Cemetery trustees be named as agents, so who would be willing to speak?
What would work better there, Dan? Us or on these cemetery ones to have somebody from the trustees speak?
In my opinion, I think the trustee would probably be better because they know more about it. And they could talk, intelligently to the questions that might be asked. But with that in mind, I mean, it's something that you folks put in as the warrant article.
Because they have 4 of them. I think I can reach out to them and see. If not, I can talk about anything, but I think it would make a lot more sense to have the cemetery trustees speak to that and the other cemetery articles.
So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll introduce you as our Board of Selectmen sponsor, and then you introduce whoever it is from the cemetery trust to present on your behalf. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to them
Yeah,
today.
that way if somebody changes their mind, I'll just have somebody certainly that's gonna be there. Okay, great, I appreciate that. Article number 5, to see if the town will vote to establish a municipal cemetery restoration expendable trust fund, which is another $80,000 to be put in a fund. So same on that one?
Yeah, we might as well. It'll just be easier.
Okay, well then. Okay, sounds good. Article number 6 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $77,000, which includes additional wages and required benefits for the purpose of providing cost of living raises to town employees in the amount of 3.5%. So who would want to speak on that behalf?
I guess I can speak to that one.
Fred? Okay. Okay, great. Thanks, Fred. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be placed in the previously established fire apparatus and equipment capital reserve fund.
Usually we'd ask the chief.
Correct. I was just going to say, in the past, I would introduce it to Andy, and then Andy would introduce it to the chief. But if I can bypass that formality, I'd just have the chief, if you
Yeah, I would
want.
say so.
Yeah.
Okay, and we just need to make sure he's there or representative. Okay. Chief Fisher. Okay, great. And article number 8 is to see if the town will vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $35,000 to establish the cemetery general maintenance expendable reserve fund. So we'll do the same with that one as well. Sponsor. So Alden. Okay. Okay, Article 9, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of up to $25,000 to be placed in the previously established municipal government buildings infrastructure expendable trust funds. So who would want to speak on that behalf?
I guess I can speak to that one.
Okay,
Is that something Ray wants to talk about? No?
okay. Article 10 is to see if the town will vote to establish a recreational facility maintenance expendable trust fund per RSA 3119A for the purpose of executing general town field court maintenance upkeep and the like. So who would be the speaker on that?
Want that, Dwight?
I could take that, Fred.
Dwight? Okay, great.
What was that, 10?
Yep, Article 10, yep. Okay, terrific. And then, let's see, there's some information there. And Dwight, if you see the need, if you want to have one of the guys from the Parks and Rec be there to provide additional information, I always really enjoy having more information for folks to visit with and to discuss, if they're available and if they want to be a part of that. That's
I'll speak with Nick.
Nick, see, great.
Thank you.
Okay. Article 11 is to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $20,318, which represents an equity pay adjustment for the town clerk and deputy town clerk. So Article 11, who wants to sponsor that one? Discuss that.
I guess the
Right.
chair
Okay.
should on that one, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Article 12 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be placed in the previously established fire department vehicle. So we want to do that. Matt Fisher again on that one?
Yeah.
Chief Fisher? Article 13 is to see if the town to vote and raise appropriate the sum of $15,000 to be used to purchase a utility vehicle for the Deerfield Parks and Rec program. So would that be you, Dwight? Okay.
Do the same thing there.
Okay, great. All right, Article 14, 1-4 here, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be placed in the previously established rescue vehicles and equipment capital fund. Chief Fisher? All right. All right. Article 15 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $8,000 to be used by the Northwood Lake Watershed Association. Who would want to sponsor that one?
You want to do that, Dick?
Dick?
I'll
All
see
right.
if I can get some facts and figures.
Okay, appreciate it.
What number's that, Dan?
That's number 15.
And 16, is that Pleasant Lake?
Yeah.
Yep, 16 is Pleasant Lake.
Okay.
All right, so we'll have you do that one as well? Okay. Perfect. It's 17 is to see, so this is a petition warrant article. Have we had those reviewed by the council? Okay. All right, great. So Article 17 is to see if the town will vote to discontinue the appointed office of highway agent and authorize the town to elect the highway agent. The current elected highway agent shall continue to hold the office until 2023 municipal election, at which time the town will elect a highway agent. If adopted, the authority of the town to elect the highway agent shall continue in effect until changed by a majority vote at an annual or special meeting. So is the attorney give any feedback on that as of yet, or is it advisory only?
At this point, it's going forward as it is. It's been.
Okay, very good. Okay. All right. And if you can just get me the name and contact of whoever put that in.
Yes.
So I can reach out to him. Thanks. Okay. Okay, so we'll find out who that sponsor is, who petitioned that, and we'll.
That was Mr. Verville.
Was it Kevin?
Kevin, yeah.
Kevin was the one that brought it into us, so.
So he submitted the documentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll get you his contact information.
Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, and then Article 18 was the zoning one that you had indicated was not gonna happen,
Yep.
so we can cross that one out.
What
So,
happened with that?
Handed in too late.
Ooh.
and that was to
Is that the one
increase,
with the 25 signatures you were worried about?
Yeah.
that was to increase the dwelling unit from 3 acres to 5 acres. Yeah, okay, so then the new Article 18, formerly 19, is, shall we allow the operation of Keno games within the town of Deerfield? Is that legit? Okay, so we got that. And then, do we know who petitioned that one?
Yeah, I'll get you those.
Okay,
names.
perfect.
I'm just hearing about that one.
Sponsor. And then. Okay, so, so that's all the warrant articles as I have them. I guess just after that is logistics. So we're gonna have it at the fairgrounds again. So we'll definitely need to discuss, with the safety measures that we'll need to take into place, for when we're gonna set the hall, we will set the hall up. Masks mandated, how are you guys gonna handle that? Or do you need to discuss it?
I think we need to discuss it and figure out how that actually works.
Because we won't have the downstairs available this year, so it's just upstairs, so there's that. So we just want to make sure that we do everything as the safest way that Denny indicates, and then we'll, and whatever you folks let me know. And I'm going to be going with Eric Gross and John to the fairgrounds Thursday at 5 o'clock, I think?
4:30.
4:30, at 4:30, to go just do a quick walkthrough of the building and go over particular setups and such that we may need. So, yeah, anyone's welcome to join us to that if you'd like, and just so we know how to set the hall up and be ready to go. My ability to set up a hall right now is going to be limited, but
Right.
I'll be able to point things out. Be a good supervisor. So that would just be the other the thing that we just need to make sure we figured out. Is there anything that you folks want to make sure we do this year at the deliberative session that we can add to or make better?
Yeah, did you book a porta potty yet?
Yes.
That's all set?
Are we having the women's club coming into deliberative or only to the election?
As far as I know, the deliberative, and that was a question for you this evening later on during my report.
Okay.
They've already made the offer
To deliberative or to,
to deliberative.
okay.
And election too, I believe.
Both?
So-
Yeah.
Okay.
That would just be a logistics thing to make sure it
Yeah,
works for
so
Dan.
we would have to set them up in the back somewhere where there's, power, I mean, obviously it's too cold for them to set up outside.
Yeah.
But if they, you know, we would just need to figure out the logistics of the hall and where would be the best spot for them to set up. But they do raise a lot of funds for the high schoolers in town, and it's a really good cause. So if we can make it work, we'd sure love to make it happen. So,
And Matt said he's good with doing those.
okay, perfect.
So we going to do masks or optional, required or optional? And
I would sure as heck lean towards required.
what's the rest of the board feel on that?
Same.
So if you make masks required, then we need to come up with
And
alternatives to the folks that either medically can't wear them or choose not to. And that's, we went through the moderator training recently, and it's not easy, it's not cut and dry. And so we just gotta be mindful that if we do mask required, then there's gotta be a similar accommodation, if we will, for folks that are unable to.
Well,
or
voting
decide
day,
not
we
to.
had them on the north end.
Sorry?
On voting day last year, we had them on the north end.
So we had it separated. We had the hall separated, so we had an unmasked voting area,
Right.
and then we had a masked voting area. We're not going to do that again. That took me months to put together, and I just don't have. I don't have the capacity to do it. So we'll need to figure that out at some point, how we're going to handle that.
do you have any suggestions?
Right now, I don't have a lot to offer, especially since we don't have access to for the deliberative session, we don't have access to downstairs. And not for nothing, but just so everyone's clear, last year we had one person
Right.
go downstairs, and they offered to wear a mask to go upstairs after we spent thousands of dollars to make that accommodation. So just let that sit for a moment.
We just have different seating?
No.
No, I
Which is
said,
ev-
can we this year?
No, we can work the seating out, we can do the social distancing, however we want to do. There's ways that we can make it work, I think, but we've really got to work with Denny and figure out what's our safest way to do it, and, but I think we can make that work. You got to think, what do they do at Home Depot? What do they do, we're going into all these same areas every day with the masks and folks without masks every day now. And we've got to be mindful, though, that those that may want to come to this may have a health concern. So how do we make sure that they feel safe there too? So that's kind of there's a lot of balancing, and unfortunately, the politics gets introduced a lot of times where it shouldn't be. So, yep.
Would it help you if it was just worded encouraged?
I think whatever we do, people are going to do what they're going to do. I think Deerfield community is very proud of wherever they stand on the mask issue, no matter what it is. And they will, if we say that it's required, people are going to show up for the sake of not having them. If we say that it's highly suggested, I think that people will respect that. But again, a lot of this, what I feel and think probably doesn't matter as much as whatever Denny says that we have to do to be safe. That's where I stand, is that whatever she says, that she's our safety person for our town, and she's done a fabulous job the last few years helping us navigate through these crazy waters. So that's kind of how I viewed it, is if she says that it's going to be safe doing it this way or that way, then we should follow her advice. Yeah.
Benny?
I think the critical point becomes, with respect to deliberative session, first of all, we're closer to a massive surge of cases. And that is not going to diminish. It's going to be diminishing about the time of the deliberative session. So I do think that extremely strong encouragement of masks is a priority. I think that social distancing will be key. Really the hard part about the deliberative session is we're talking about as long as potentially 2 hours of people sitting in a room with each other. It's not the same as just walking by people or being kind of just a glancing blow. It's a far different situation. So The hard part for us is, yep, ventilation, air purifiers, there's things we can do. I think Dan's right. I think there's going to be a minimal number of people that challenge this, hopefully. But I think there are steps that we can take to just make it, masks strongly encourage for the deliberative session with maximum social distancing. Air purifiers over there, we kind of garner what we have in town and take them over there and do what we can for the deliberative session. The election's harder for you all, and I'll be honest, you're 12 hours in the same space. It's going to be a little bit warmer because it's March 8th, but it's a difficult situation, and I'll be honest, I foresee more people not wearing masks at the election than at the deliberative session, simply because you're going to see a far greater number of people. And if, I think, clearly from the unvaccinated level in our town, not wearing masks and not being vaccinated is still a major concern. We're 60% maybe unvaccinated, so it's a challenge for the election. I would love to see the same setup we had last year. I understand what Dan says about it's a little more difficult in terms of assigned personnel, but that's really where, when you're talking 12 hours in the same space for town employees and our boards and our workers, that's where it gets to be a little more challenging, so.
So are you thinking windows open like we did last time?
Well, if you're using the air purifiers, that actually, if we have everyone that we own in that space, then I would go with the air purifiers, leaving the windows closed at the deliberative session, because it's a shorter period of time. It gets more challenging for March, there's no question.
It's a
And-
shorter period of time, but like you said, everybody's in one spot for that shorter period of time, and everybody's there for the whole time, not just with the election when there's
Right.
40 of us there that are there for the whole time, and then everybody else in there for 5 minutes.
Yep. I mean, we have 10 air purifiers. We can set them up. They're HEPA filters. They clear the air, so there's steps we can take, and we can maximize social distancing. I understand about the women's club, and I might make myself very unpopular here, but wow, it's a little more dangerous to ask people to come in, drink coffee, and eat food when now you're having people taking on and off masks who may be masks, and we're looking at a more elderly population. So I love the idea of to-go stuff rather than having people eat and drink in that room, because that does raise the risk.
How fast, what do you figure time frame on this, Dan?
Well, it's hard to say, because it really depends on the amount of conversation folks have. We've gotten the deliberative sessions down to under 2 hours. So I'm, again, when I start this one, I will say that we are in the pandemic still. My goal is to get through this as quickly and with everyone still having their honest comments available and what have you, everyone can feel comfortable to share, but that I will move through it quickly. And I mean, the thing is, there's not a lot of items here that are, the school board's got more challenging conversations, I think, than what the town does. None of these here scream like there's going to be a lot of conversation, maybe the highway agent one, but other than that, I don't think there'll be a lot of conversations on these. So I would say less than 2 hours for this.
I think you skipped one, too. I think you skipped the rec utility vehicle.
No, I got it.
You did? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
Sorry?
I got it.
Gonna talk.
Yep, Dwight's gonna.
Okay. That must have been when I was texting Matt. I apologize.
No worries.
Uh,
So that's kind of, we got a little time to think about it, I think, a little time. Like I said, we're going to be there at the Arts and Crafts Building on Thursday at 4:30. So if folks want to come by and say hello and kind of look at what we have in front of us, just see what we have for the areas, what we all think might be good social distance setups and see how we can best keep everyone safe as much as we can. But I'll do my best to get right through it as quickly as we can, and get the town's business in order. So, is there any other concerns, questions, things that we can do to make the deliberative session better for this year?
On the non-masked people, again, based on what happened last year, we only had one person. I would assume we'd probably have fewer than 10, but would be putting them off in the corner or something with their own mic?
So we can have things socially distanced and have a separate microphone. There's nothing wrong with that. I just want to make sure we're clear that we don't present it as we're giving less of an experience for them. You know what I mean? So I want them to feel like it's the same opportunity to speak, the same, just because we don't have a mask, we're not anything less of a person. We're just choosing to do something differently.
Right.
And so, so as long as we have the microphone and the ability for them to be recognized and talk on any of the warrants, I think we're in great shape.
Okay.
And I'll sure make sure they feel welcome.
That room's plenty big enough so you can set aside
I'm sorry?
that room's plenty big enough to set aside an area. and
It
have a
is,
mic.
it is. It's a huge room, and on average, I mean, I'm gonna guess we'll probably have 40 people there.
Yeah.
It's a cold Saturday morning.
I think I might be with Denny on the women's club, and I love having the women's club there.
Yeah.
It's the highlight of my election day as well. But especially if we're not using downstairs, and it's a short meeting. I think the school meeting kind of makes more sense. It's a bigger area. I think that might be worth visiting.
So how do we get creative? So perhaps there's another building there that's right nearby. Maybe the administration building, I don't know. Maybe there's another building there that they could put heat in there, and they could sell it at another building there. I know they want to listen to everything and get, as an option, just,
Not a
because
good
then
idea.
people would enjoy it outside.
Yeah,
People would take it outside and just keep it outside, so they're not enjoying it indoors. But I don't know how well people
either that
follow
or
rule.
like you said, the to-go packets of cookies and what
Yeah,
have
stuff-
you.
Stuff to go, perhaps. I don't know. I think Denny's right, that we probably should ask him not to do it this time.
Or not to do it traditionally the way we always do it.
Or come up with a different game plan or something, but, yeah, we just we want to keep them safe. They're the core of our community. We want to make sure they're safe as well. So, anything else I can do for you guys that?
Thank you, Dan, for all you
Guess
do.
that's it.
Sure, okay. All right. Well,
Thanks, Dan.
I'm
Take it
off to
easy
the
on
school board
Thursday,
meeting and doing theirs tonight, so,
Feel better, Dan.
thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, Don. Go up to the mic.
Okay, this will be kind of quick. So, as some of you know, I drive school bus. I do the high school route. My first pickup is at 6:05 in the morning. My route is 107, out through South Road, out to Bear Brook, and over to Concord. I've been driving these roads for 40 years, on Deerfield roads for 40 years. I cannot believe the amount of traffic we have on these roads now. Holy smokes. What I've run into on the bus, and what I seem to find, which is really a real safety issue, is no lines on the roads. The days of having to have no lines so that you can pass the tractor, or the hay rig, or whatever it takes, those days have got to be gone. This is a real safety issue, the amount of traffic that's on just South Road alone. I get passed all the time because they can. There's nothing that says you can't pass someone without a line. Legally, they can do it. If they speed, well, it is what it is. It's a real safety issue, and I really think it's something that the town really, really should think about. I would really appreciate it if they could do something by putting in safety lines. Just put a yellow line down the middle of the road. It really is stunning, the amount of traffic out there now. Like I said, I've been driving these roads for 40 years, and I can't believe it, the amount of traffic's there. But a lot of developments, a lot of housing, and like I said, it's not like it used to be. And it really is a real safety issue. I can't tell you how many times you have cars just zip past you in places that they shouldn't. It's not just at the Dodge Farm, where you get a nice long stretch, you can see someone getting away with it. There's places that they shouldn't be passing, and they do. And it's not like it can't be done. I mean, as soon as you get to Allenstown, there's a line in the road. So it really looks pretty bad for us to not have something in there for our residents, to try to keep them just a little safer on our roads. But I had to say something. I'm
Dwight?
So is it just South Road that you're speaking of?
That's my road. So I can't speak to other roads. I don't drive them as much, but I do drive that route every day. Amazing. Like I said, the traffic is just unbelievable, especially if you've been driving these roads for 40 years. You'd know what I'm talking about. That you were lucky to see 2 cars. Not anymore.
So what are you looking for? You looking for a single line or a double line?
Just something. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me, but there needs to be some type of a line so that people can't pass.
Are there specific spots you're being passed more often than others?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Sorry. Are there specific spots that you're having more trouble with people passing you?
No, it's random.
Okay. Because I was
It's really-
hoping, you know,
it's really
the other
pretty
thing,
random.
the other thing we could do is pass a message to the police chief to say, if you could sit, you know, put somebody in.
The odds of having someone sitting in the right place at the right time is slim to none. It really is a safety issue. You have people that, it's dark, it's rainy, the roads are covered with leaves or whatever. They're in your lane because, you know, you want to stay to the center because you're not really sure. It's not just the passing, it's the visibility. It's just splitting this up, splitting the road so that the right people are on the right side of the road and not on your side of the road. Trust me, I can't cut that bus real quick, and they don't do well off-road. So I'm just looking for safety issues, you know? I have to take responsibility for these kids, and I take it pretty serious. So that's the only reason I'm here. I am just thinking it's something that the town really needs to do.
Dick?
Have you spoke with the police chief yet? As far as if he recommends a line?
Nope.
Would that be a good place to start?
I think here's a good place to start.
Or for us too.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, somebody here.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's brought to our attention.
Yeah.
I believe it comes down to enforcement. If there's no line, they can't enforce no passing.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, they can.
Cindy?
Is there any specifications as to how wide a road has to be before we put?
That's what I was wondering, if it's 22 feet of pavement.
John's done the research.
I anticipated that question. So I had Ray Ellis contact the state utility engineer in District 6, James Hewlett, who informed him of the following. Now, these are state requirements. State requirements are 24-foot road with travel lanes of 12 foot each from the center to the fog line. Local roads do not have minimum widths. Lines must be in the center of the road.
Just in the center.
And the width of South Road, I asked a general question to Steve Rollins and Ray. That width varies in different sections. They do have the technology, professional road painters to follow the width and stay in the middle, but those travel lanes would vary in different sections.
Don, you've been here many years. Do you see any reason why we'd need to leave a place for passing, or could it just be solid right through? I mean, if you've got 7 cars behind you, do you
Personally,
follow?
I've been that person behind someone that's really slow, you know, that is just out enjoying for a nice little leisurely drive. I'm not saying that they need to race and do 100, but there's times when, I think there's times when it's appropriate to pass, and there's places to pass. And I think people should have the option to, if they don't like to follow a dump truck, if they don't like to follow a logging truck, or something that happens to be on that road. If you're behind something that makes you uncomfortable to be behind, you should have the opportunity where it's safe to be able to pass. That's just my opinion of that.
John, how narrow does South Road get?
That I don't have information.
Because there's a couple spots that get pretty narrow.
And there's trees in the way.
Yeah. That would be, I mean, not that I don't disagree that there's a ton of traffic down that road. I don't go down there often, and I'm always blown away with how much traffic there is. But that would be my only concern, is it narrowing.
But there's
Cindy.
only a few spots really that are fairly narrow.
Yeah.
The rest of it has opened up. Amazing how much it's gotten wider over the years.
The lines might be a good idea, but I'm just concerned that if we put lines up wherever and it's not, what's the liability if we don't have the 12 feet on each lane?
Well, that's the state.
That's a state requirement. There is
I
no
know, but
minimum.
What, so there's gotta be some type of, I don't know. You can't put a line up and have 6 feet, expect a truck to get through there. I'm just wondering what the liability for that would be.
Actually, I was gonna say,
Alden.
we did that whole road study with Southern New Hampshire Planning.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of know where the roads are at, and I know they do traffic mitigation work and everything else. Could this be something you could bounce off them and just say, we've had a request? How would this affect travel on this road? I mean, they have the whole thing mapped out,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they'd be able to tell us if it's feasible or not. And I think don't we have a budget line for road striping?
I think we do it on the
We don't?
highway.
John's saying no.
No?
I'd have to look.
Road striped.
And then we have parking lot striping, we don't have road painting, so we'd have to figure out how to pay for it as well.
Cindy?
Does the state still have some kind of help with South Road because of Bear Brook?
No.
No, that went away years ago.
They have lines already out there to Bear Brook.
Right, out that way, but
Yeah, they've already got
No,
that already.
what Cindy's saying is years ago, every town road that connected to a state park, there was state money, and that's not there anymore.
Yeah, the situation, of my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, John, that the road, South Road has to be constructed to state standards, state specifications. And once that occurs, then they would be in a position to take it over as a state highway.
Now, that is something I'm 100% fine with, let's do that.
But we've had situations in the past where the road agent, not the current road agent, but a previous one, didn't want to bother with meeting the state requirements and constructed it according to what he felt was the way to go. And consequently, at least that section of the road was not meeting state specifications.
I wish it was not too late for petition warrant articles, because I'd petition one right now for that.
That's
is that-
a good summation.
All
yes.
right.
So I think the next move, if John can talk to Southern New Hampshire Planning, they have the whole
Mhm.
traffic, they have our whole road layout, and I think can tell us if they think that's a good idea for traffic mitigation or not.
And certainly, I think we should include the chief as
Yes.
well, and what his comments might end up being on it, too.
And the road agent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.
see
I
what we can
appreciate it.
do.
Students will be happy.
All right, we have review of outstanding minutes. We have minutes for the 12/29, January 3rd, and January 11th.
Motion to approve is written?
All three, or?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Second.
Yep.
All right. And is there a second?
Cindy.
Second by Cindy. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes for December 29th, January 3rd, and January 11th signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Vote unanimous. All right. We have accounts payable. This is for 2021 funds in the amount of $7,244.29.
So moved.
Second?
So what is that for 21?
Yeah. We get Aerials Solutions, Avatar, Baker and Taylor, Booton Law, Clean Rental, CMA Engineers, Demco, HCR Truck and Equipment, Health Trust, TransUnion Risk and Alternative, and Upton and Hatfield.
All right.
And again, these are all that occurred in 2021.
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Vote unanimous.
That wraps up the year, John.
Unless there are some straggler invoices that come in, that's what the problem is. They keep coming in.
All right, accounts payable for 2022. And the amount of $73,181.55. Is
So moved.
there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded by Dwight. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Vote unanimous. So no payroll?
No payroll.
Okay. All right, signatures and correspondence. All right, we have accounts payable manifest for January 10th for 2021 and 2020, and January 10th also for 2022. And payroll manifest for one, with week ending January 5th with a check date of 1/11. And these have all been signed by the board previously. What's the name of it?
Just, you want to read in the amounts?
The amounts, okay. Yeah, the amount for 2021 funds are $50,556.73. The 2022 funds, $1,012,254.69, of which $900,000 is for the school. And for payroll manifest, gross payroll of $87,396.29, with a net payroll of $55,971.76. All right. We have more solar exemptions.
Yes. There's three sets. There's veterans credit and abatement and solar exemptions.
Okay.
I never thought we had this much solar in town. It's quite impressive.
We have a listing of all the solar exemptions for 2022. And we got 2 full pages and one partial page. Okay, so we have is the solar exemption here?
No, if you look in the middle shaded box, you'll see what's checked. I believe that's a vet credit.
Oh, veterans credits, yep. It's for Wendy Lee Hood on 79 Ridge Road, veterans credit of,
Second page.
second page, $750.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Unanimous. And we have second one for David Backstrom on 217 South Road. Veteran tax credit in the amount of $750 also.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And it's a vote unanimous. And solar tax credits. We have William Hutchinson on 15 Cole Road.
I believe that may be a veteran's credit.
It is, yep. Sorry about that. Fooled by the green.
Mhm.
Another veterans tax credit, again, William Hutchinson, 15 Cole Road. Mr. Hutchinson was in the Army National Guard. Have a motion to approve?
You got a dollar amount there first?
Where is it?
Should be right on the back of the green sheet.
There's nothing marked.
I will send this back.
So we shouldn't sign it without an amount.
Withdraw my motion.
And second agree?
Yes.
Okay. And we have another veterans credit. It's for Sean Dooley at 30 Church Street, and in the amount of $750.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Vote unanimous. All right, have a abatement application for James Spillane. Amount of abatement of $584.68. John, do you have any background on this one?
There's an attached letter.
We have a letter from Avatar. He attaches recommendation recommending abatement on these changes reduce the assessment from $441,100 to $410,000, and I recommend abatement on the $31,100. So the actual dollar value of the abatement is $584.68.
That's correct.
So it's a recommendation from Avatar for the abatement for James Spillane on 19 Swamp Road. motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
But what is the abatement for?
I
The
can-
assessed value of his house,
Reassess.
30,000 less.
Yeah. If you want, I can read the,
That's okay.
okay. So, again, the summary that Avatar has is, these changes reduce the assessment from 441,100 to 410,000, and they recommend that abatement on the $31,100 value difference, which results in a actual reduction in taxes of, or abatement of taxes of $584.68. So a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's unanimous. All right. Now we have the solar energy ones. Its owner is 70 Church Street LLC, and it's for the property at 70 Church Street. And the abatement is in the amount of $15,000.
Want to read them all, Fred, and then we'll do that again?
Okay. Next is Amy Dearborn Murphy at 52 South Road. And the abatement is $21,000. Or tax credit, excuse me, not an abatement. And finally, tax credit for Megan H. Kate Revocable Trust at 11 Nichols Road in the amount of $20,400.
Motion to approve the 3 solar credits.
Is there a second? Second, Alden. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's vote unanimous.
Cindy method.
All right, we have a cemetery lot application. Bonnie S. Christian at 15 Mountain Road, and this is for the Old Center Cemetery. Lots R7, 8, and 9.
Is that a price per lot, Fred?
Don't show a price on here. Oh, excuse me, we do. Total of $1,650.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Unanimous. And we have the default budget in the amount of $4,122,731, and it requires us, the board, to sign.
Isn't that $13?
Is that again, $4,122,731?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Have a motion to approve? And
So moved.
is there a second?
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And it's vote unanimous. And we have five copies of the proposed warrant, and all have to be signed by the board. Do we need a motion on this, or just?
No.
Okay.
I've already accepted them a few times.
Yeah. No, we're posting these without the recommended action by the budget committee, or?
Sorry. Slide it that far to it.
From. I'll bring them back in next meeting.
Like I
Thank
say,
you,
we
Fred.
did vote on those the other night.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, doesn't show up on those.
Printed the wrong copy.
Okay. And correspondence, and planning board minutes, planning board agenda. We have a request for naming of roads. And this is something we have to take action on, right?
I'm not sure whether, I believe that's part of the planning board agenda for their next meeting.
Yeah, but
Here it comes to us.
it comes to us.
That
for
was just
the
a
naming.
copy, I didn't get the original. But yes, it does come to the Board of Selectmen to approve the name.
This is what's referred to as a Smith Ordinance Road off of Mount Delight Road, 96A Mount Delight. And they're creating this road basically to serve two properties, one newly created lot. And this would be a private road. And what they're proposing is Wildflower Way or Wildflower Lane.
I think it has to be a
Maybe
way.
Lane. Lane's a safe for the lake.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, lanes on the lake and the
Okay.
ways.
so Wildflower Way how's that?
Is this the Judd's?
This is Judd, yes.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
We don't have any of the road names that are similar to that, do we?
Not that I know of.
Okay. All right.
So do we go first, or does the planning board go first?
Basically, the planning board has the position that comes to the Board of Selectmen first, and
Okay.
then they can put that on the plan, and the planning board can then take action on it.
I'll make a motion, we approve Wildflower Way for the Judd family.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Anybody have a problem with wildflowers or anything? No?
I've heard a lot worse.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Vote unanimous.
So it's Wildflower Way.
Wildflower Way.
So that's the deal. Ways and lanes are private, lanes are private on the lake.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so this will be a red.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
it says way.
Now, if some organization,
It's a lot easier when 911 sends us to a lane, we know it's by the lake.
yeah, yeah. Since some of our other roads don't really make sense.
And we have a letter from Attorney Scarano with regard to the
Estrella?
Estrella, yeah, property off of Reservation Road. We also have a letter from Diane Kimball and expressing opinion with regard to the relocation of the Highway Department. All right, Town Administrator's Report.
First thing I'd like to bring the board's attention to is there is a draft public hearing notice in your packet. Because of the petition warrant article for Keno, we have to hold a public hearing at least 15 days, but not more than 30 days before the question is to be voted on. I have offered Monday, February 14th, 5:30. It would be on a meeting day. We'd have the public hearing first and start the business meeting of the board after that. If the board approves, I will post this.
Sounds good.
Anybody have any objection to that date and time?
How many years ago was it when we went through this before?
Last year, didn't we? Yeah.
Last
2
year?
2 years
2 years
ago,
ago?
2 years
Keno
ago.
came up, yeah.
Is there anything else that we need to know about the Keno, like where they're proposing, or is this just, if it passes, it's for the whole town?
This is to bring the operation of Keno to the town of Deerfield.
Okay.
So we're good with that date?
We're good with that date and
Okay.
time.
Thank you.
Who's bringing that forward?
I would have to check the petition.
Oh.
Next, you have in your packets, and I sent it out earlier, was a draft Class 6 road policy waiver and release. I didn't know if the board wanted to discuss any of that this evening.
It's no different than what we're doing, it's just spelled out, correct?
That's correct.
Right. The board want to, have everyone looked at these, or do you want to wait till next meeting before we take action on them?
Well, I read them, that was my only question, was just, is this basically the same policy we've had right along, just spelled out into one document? And if so, then I'm fine with approving it.
Any other comments?
Which one is it, Fred?
Basically, it's all three of them, right?
There's a policy,
You got the policy,
a waiver form, and a release.
Now the now come
the
one.
release, and then the building permit authorization. So they would, the release would be recorded at the Registry of Deeds. The authorization would basically go to the building inspector, to basically authorizing him to issue the building permit for construction on a Class 6 road. And then the policy is just the policy that we'd be adopting. And again, this was something that we've been following, but it hasn't been written down. And surprisingly, we've been gone this long without having it written down, but,
Time to write it down.
yeah. What action do we want to take?
I'll make a motion that we accept the 3 draft policies for policy, release, and building permit.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
So how does this play into the Ridge Range intersection there?
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't think I've done enough homework.
The building permit has already been issued, and the house is under construction.
Whatever they had frontage on Range,
That's correct.
chose to use
but they chose to use Ridge Road Extension for their actual access, which this would have jurisdiction over that, but the fact that the permit has already been issued, we really don't have a lot of leverage on this
But this could help us going forward for
for anybody else.
anybody
yeah.
else, so we're not in the same situation.
Right.
But does it allow someone to build on a Class 6 road?
Under certain stipulation, yes.
Right. Right.
Us releasing that and things like that?
Right, correct. And it gives the board authorization to make them, whoever's proposing to build on the Class 6 road, make them build the road to a particular standard that's established by the board. But I did, I don't
Which
know.
I mean, we don't have any, it's just a miracle, we don't have more subdivisions trying to go into Class 6 roads now, in my opinion, so,
Not at this point, no.
yeah, I just think this is something we ought to do sooner rather than later.
And with regard to the Ridge Road extension, I don't know what any town council or whatever would give recommendations as to how we would end up proceeding with having Mr. Cross sign off on the agreement and release.
The only thing you would be able to ask is that any planned maintenance would have to
Right.
be approved by the Board of Selectmen,
Mm-hmm.
or any changes to the road.
So, any further discussion? Cindy, you have a puzzled look.
Yeah, no. All right.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed, no? No.
Nay.
Nay? So we have 4 yeas and 1 no.
I can have the documents finalized for next meeting to sign.
Okay. All right. Unfinished business. Anything else, John?
Yes. Some of you may or may not be aware that on January 5th, the ice storm, the forestry truck out of the fire department was in an accident. I have filed a claim with Primex on that. Also, Rescue 2 out of the fire department had some minor damage on the external carriage. It struck a granite post responding to a residence, and I've also filed a claim with Primex on that as well. Gone over the women's.
On the first accident, was everybody okay? Nobody?
Yes, there were no injuries that I'm aware of.
Good.
It was mostly vehicle.
Yep.
Have we got an estimate for F1 yet?
I have not heard anything on that yet. And that's what I have for this evening. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh,
Alden.
road agent draft.
Oh,
Posting.
well, that comes under new business, I guess, right?
Oh, okay. It was in the status of road policy and waiver form discussion, so I just want to make sure we didn't miss it.
Okay. And unfinished business, discussion of police department design build RFQ interview. Dick,
I don't think we should waste their time at the deliberative session.
you think we can,
Well, it seems like the more we get into this, the deeper it's getting as far as it not gonna be where we thought. Across the street.
yeah,
And if it's gonna involve moving other buildings or anything to that effect, we need to approve the money so we can do our design and that, keep moving forward, but I don't know if we need Huddig here to tell that.
Do we have to make a motion to go with?
I
the
think
choice?
probably should, yeah.
But why don't you think, I didn't make out everything you said, I'm sorry, Dick, but you were saying you don't think they ought to come to deliberative session?
Yeah, I don't think we're that far enough along that, for them to answer questions. It's more of us raising the money. We're nowhere near design phase or anything like that.
They may be asked questions that they don't have the answers to, because
Yeah, because we don't have, I mean, the school, when they had their presentation to the NBC the other night, they've got a plan and a conceptual drawing and everything, and you're right, we don't even have a
We don't,
location.
yeah, we don't have that.
We need funds to start that process.
Dwayne?
Do we have a plan, schedule to determine where where we want this building to go? What's the plan?
No, that's part of the overall process here, and that was one of the questions I had asked, if they'd be willing to do a conceptual look at least another couple of locations beside what we have across the street. And, of course, they said that they'd be willing to do that. But obviously, we can't be giving them a list of 10 possible locations and expect them to do all that for free.
Sure, understood. So do we have a plan as a board to come up with a secondary or a third location beyond across the street so that we can?
I think that would probably be a good idea, and maybe even have that, decide on that before the deliberative session, if we have any other specific locations that we're thinking about.
I think that might be nice to have that for the session, for
Mhm.
sure.
Or at least a top 3 plan.
do we send that back to the police committee and have them come up with a couple more?
Dwight, what's your thought?
Well, the committee that I was on, it really hasn't gotten together for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose we could try to include some of those folks. I just do think it's important to try to come up with a short list so people understand where this money is going to be spent
Right.
as far as what we're looking at for a site.
Maybe we can contact Andy and ask him. I just don't want them to feel like we've taken it away from them either.
Yeah.
They've done a lot of work on this.
Did you want to make a motion to choose a builder at
I
this
think we
point?
have to do that
Step
first.
1?
So I think as step 1, I'll make a motion that we accept Hutter's
Hutter
bid.
/ Warren
Yes.
Street Architects Design Build Team.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second?
Moved and second. Any further discussion?
So that's just them but going forward, no commitment as far as, Where or
What
what?
this does is you're accepting their design portion of the bid that you opened.
Right.
in that 95 or whatever's on that warrant article.
That will
Yeah.
combine with the 35 that's already in
Right.
the trust fund and come up with the full amount of their bid.
Beautiful.
Any
This
further
will
discussion?
enable me to get back to them.
Right. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed, no. Vote unanimous. Okay.
Okay.
So
Now we can discuss the rest of it.
Right. So we can send a letter off to them, also send one to Ekman,
Yep.
just saying thank you for your time and effort in putting the proposal together, and unfortunately, you were not chosen. All right. Potential locations.
Well, one thing, I got a call the other day from a couple members of the school board. And it's too bad that the school and the Board of Selectmen are going to this really late in the game for planning together. But one proposal for the new school addition is there's two warrant articles. One for the main school addition and renovation of the school. And the second warrant article is to put a community space on the other side of the school, including a gymnasium, et cetera. And there's talk about possibly moving the Parks and Rec program down to there, which would actually open up the rest of the back of this building. I know it's not ideal, but that was just one suggestion somebody called me with the other day that I thought I'd throw out there.
Mm-hmm.
I know John's not a huge
My understanding is the entire Parks and Rec department was not moving. They were just going to run the after-school
After-school.
program down there. Parks and Rec would remain here.
Oh, okay.
Now, there is space in, if I knew we were going to be talking about that, I could have made up some maps, but there is space down in back of basically from the tennis court in back. I think there's probably 200 to 300 feet before we get to the property line. But John had said that the topography, it kind of falls off, and I don't know if we'd end up biting off a big bullet and with regard to trying to construct something there.
There's not a whole lot of traffic access out back there either.
That was a concern when that option was brought before the chief. They would need a separate driveway to get back there if that were an option.
Rather than using.
They couldn't use the main thoroughfare to get all the way back there.
So that being the case, it would probably be prohibitively expensive just trying to get a separate access way back there.
You'd have to put a drive on the other side
Other
of
side
the
of the
property
building.
line,
Yeah.
just for the police department.
Mm-hmm. Good. So that kind of kills that one.
I mean, other than that it's not a bad spot, centrally located and everything else,
Mhm.
but I think the traffic access is gonna,
Right. The next one, the least I thought of, is basically on the lot that the fire department, the rescue squad owns next to the fire station. It's fairly flat, but I don't know if the footprint for the building that had been designed for across the street would fit on there, but because we had some space down in the basement, I would assume we'd have to take and expand that building out, and whether that expanded building would fit on that parcel is questionable.
What's your take, Cindy?
It's not gonna fit, it's only as far as you see at the stone wall. I don't think.
So
it would-
what
the
about-
footprint, what?
What about going into the gazebo field if you needed some more?
That you could do.
I'd rather not use the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem I see over there, well, we don't own, the town doesn't own it, we'd have to
Right.
figure out how to buy it from the fire department, but on such a tiny lot, where the heck are we gonna put the septic and everything else unless we tie into the existing fire department system?
There isn't one.
Yeah, forget the fire department one.
The problem I see down there is I think it's just too small.
Mm-hmm. And then there is space down by where the big cistern is, down the back of the highway department. I forget how much space there is to the property line, but there is space there. And that could conceivably be constructed without having to tear down the fire department, fire department, tear down the highway department.
Or
and-
we tear down the highway department.
Or tear down the highway department and take that space.
Now, I know Diane called me and sent a letter in stating opposition, but I have had a number of calls saying that makes sense. The thing I wanted to mention on that is we've been hesitant to say yes to that idea because we're worried about having two warrant articles and losing one,
Right.
getting one, not the other. So I asked John the other day, why couldn't we just do one warrant article? Yeah, it's a complete hit or miss, but it would take out the getting one and not the other. If we put a warrant article to say we build police station for X amount and build a highway department for X amount at the Brown Road location.
So the only drawback to that would be that we need to hire an architect or design build team to do the building for the highway department. And, because we don't have that in the budget at all.
I just think putting more of that traffic on Brown Road is going to be a mistake.
Yeah.
We're already hauling trash out of there. That
Right,
was,
but you're talking about a snowstorm, how many trucks do we hire during a snowstorm that's gonna be up and down that road? And how many trucks would have come down Brown Road Saturday morning? frontwards.
True story.
Well, it's way less of a hill than they're going down into Church Street.
They went by my house on the straightaway backwards sanding so they could make it.
I know, but what I'm saying is you pull down into Church Street, you get, Church Street is not an ideal location anyway, because you gotta turn off of
I just
through
don't-
that intersection we've been trying to fix for years.
I just don't think Brown Road's a good place to put it, just because of the traffic and the residents. We have to think of the residents that live on that road too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they already don't like the transfer station traffic, because I just think bringing big trucks and,
We're already hauling tractor trailer loads of trash, or compressed containers out of that road. So I don't think the plow trucks are gonna cause a huge issue. I think from a long-term planning perspective, to have the transfer station and the highway department, like so many other towns do, right next to each other, so maybe we can have one person run both of them.
we're not so many other towns, and I just think that's a poor road to put all those trucks on. Let's find a piece of property on 107 then.
Because I end up raising the question of, what about across the street for the highway department?
I like your idea down by the cistern, Fred.
So I could probably pull out develop a map of, have John pull the tax map for that particular lot out and see what we have there for space. And we could take a look at that as a possibility.
And I have to say, Cindy, I take a little bit of umbrage to the "we're not other towns."
Mhm.
Deerfield is a different town, but however, if we're seeing all these other towns in this area making long-term plans and consolidating departments like that, I think it's time that we start looking at this works in other towns.
If the location is correct, I agree with you. If the location is correct. I don't believe that location is correct. If we had the transfer station down on a main road, then absolutely. But it's not. It's up there, 2 miles on a back road. It just, I agree with you.
Dwight,
That's
you
fine.
have something?
Yeah, a couple things. I agree that it's forward-thinking to look at putting those two entities together, the transfer station and the highway department. I thought Diane's letter was good. It definitely raised some flags, some things I hadn't thought about. What do people think about the fact that that is so far into one corner of the town? I mean, I guess I hadn't really thought about that, but you look at the map and it's, way down there by Raymond, and it's really
True story.
not central. And the concerns about getting around, could be real. The traffic on Brown Road, the fact that something bad happens on Brown Road and your entire department could be stuck at the station, that's a concern. Another question that I did have relative to the space between the fire department and the town hall, is that space between the driveway for the town hall and the driveway for the fire department, is that that's it in its entirety? It expands that whole area?
Back to the stone wall.
So you don't think that's enough space there? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think that's enough space. I mean, it was a small space for a farmhouse. I don't know if it'll be a big enough space for the fire department.
Is that something that we could see on a map next time?
Yeah.
Get that plot out and take a look at it and see what it could hold? Because I really like the idea of having it downtown. And, it sure would be nice if it could fit there and, the details could be worked out as far as, the town being able to use that piece. I guess for me, that would be my my top choice if it's doable.
If it's doable, I agree. So we got two plans coming back at us.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right. So we can look at those as a possibility. And in addition to across the street too, the big drawback to across the street is the site work, which the previous estimate was like $450,000
Hey, somebody's crazy.
for
It's
site
probably
work.
gonna be significantly higher now.
Mhm. So.
Yep.
But certainly we can, at the deliberative session, we can mention those possibilities, and if people are interested.
Is that lot across the street big enough to do something at the bottom level of it without making it a two-level? Is that,
You walk that,
yeah. But I know it's pretty flat once you get past this point.
you could come in by that phone building off Candia Road.
Right, it was pretty flat in there.
Mhm.
Could that be housed in there
Could
without
be, yeah,
two levels?
yeah.
And costing a bunch of money for site work?
Yeah, it's, because it depends on how flat that is in there. So. Get the Conservation Commission coming in?
The Heritage Commission.
Heritage Commission, all right.
Oh, we're almost done.
We're almost done, yeah. All right, so we can look at those as the possibilities for next meeting to kick around. All right, the mask policy review, we want to get into that as a new business?
I can put that on next.
Probably, yeah.
Yep.
And road agent job description.
That needs a lot of work. There's a lot of assumptions in there that it's gonna be combined with the transfer station.
Yeah.
We need to work on one or the other at this point.
Well, you certainly could end up having the road agent cover that.
I think it makes a lot of sense to have the road agent cover that.
That'd be my reaction as well.
And I'm okay with the obtained certification, you know, and we could push that out a little bit, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I would greatly urge us to have those two positions combined.
Because there certainly is going to have to be somebody.
Yes.
And certainly having the road agent or highway agent, whatever term we want to use, would make some sense.
You're gonna have to-
But I do think we're gonna have to start advertising soon.
Right. And we have to talk about the salary range as well.
I think it's gonna have to be higher than Chester's.
So what do we have there?
10,000.
10,000, yeah,
Just
I
a
would
little
say
bit.
so.
That's probably it for this part-time, right?
I
Or
don't know what-
or Danville.
We want to discuss that at the next meeting?
Yeah, well, if this needs work, we need to,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Well, let's do that then. Any other business?
We're talking about the mask policy thing. Do we have a policy of employees returning to work from COVID?
We're following the state public health guidelines.
Okay, do we have a policy written somewhere that states?
We, as a town, do not. We're following the state public health guidelines.
Okay.
It's actually part of the safety policy that we follow the state policy.
Okay.
You all set, Fred?
John, when you were,
Anything else?
oh, sorry, back to the salary guide you gave us. Could you just find out if any of them cover the solid waste?
It would say in there the codes. Other than that, it doesn't list.
So that TS, okay.
Correct. That was the only one that did.
Thank you.
All right, any other business?
Citizens comment.
Citizens' comments?
Oh, motion to adjourn, 7:05.
Second?
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We're adjourned.